Hi, welcome to the Diablo podcast. We are online at diabloincgamers.com. This is a service of diabloincgamers.com. Funny how that works. I am your host, Flux. I am joined this week by Ynzerg.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Is it Ynzerg or Ynzerg?
Ynzerg.
Okay, close enough. You were on the show last time, I think?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything in between. I'm pretty sure there wasn't, yeah.
And last time you were joined by Xanth, and this time you are joined by...
Xanth! Oh,
and he's here
boy.
again. Conveniently enough, you two were the ones who were available today, and you've done a little bit of PTR testing. Well, Xanth has anyway.
Yeah.
And apparently I'm the only one who's doing the PTR testing. Don't you want Bobby Kotick to love you?
You know, if I got something from it, of course, yeah, I'd be on there. But actually, one of the things I just wrote about was kind of how I have a love-hate relationship with the PTR. I mean, it's great, you know, to try out a few new things, but at the same time, I feel like I want to kick myself because it's time that I could be spending leveling up a character that actually is really progressing or finding new things. It's kind of more of like a dip your toe in the water and then kind of jump back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your excuse, Ynzerg?
That's it. He's saying it. There's no. I for a game that requires actual like balance testing, like a competitive game, I understand what a PTR does, but I never really quite understood it for this game. But they might be. I never really, or excuse me, I'm not sure how many people, like percentage of their player base actually use the PTR, and then how much feedback they actually get from that, and then change based on PTR users' feedback. I mean, if that's really helping them, power to them. But to me, it's not necessarily for me. Like Xanth said, I'd probably rather just be playing some other dudes, leveling up some other people, you know.
So have either of you made vitriolic posts about how the game changes suck and the skills aren't balanced, etc.? Because it seems like you shouldn't have any right to make those posts if you're not on the PTR actually testing what's being changed, right?
I haven't.
As we know from the internet, you really can't complain about something if you're not in a position to change it yourself. People never do that.
I haven't really made anything. If anything, the last column I wrote was actually very positive, leaning towards the new patch. There's a lot of new features I think that will help. Unfortunately, I think some of the stuff it just doesn't seem testable right now. Like public matchmaking and like getting into multiplayer games, at least from my perspective, from playing hardcore, because all my characters transfer over. I spent a decent chunk of time today just trying to get into a public game and play around with multiplayer a little bit, and I found nothing. And
how is that different than the normal rooms?
Right, it isn't, but you know, obviously you have a limited amount of people on the PTR already, and then you have an even more limited people who are in hardcore on the PTR.
And even more limited number trying to play public games.
Right, and exactly. So I feel like, you know, for balancing on that end, or, you know, even making sure that there's no hiccups on launch, that seems like a very hard thing to do when it doesn't seem very testable. Like I actually counted, I think I did like 2 or 3 times to try and do any quest in each act, you know, trying out the different monster densities and seeing what other people were doing. And over that time, I was just forced to create a game and hope that people joined, and I got nowhere with it.
Well, it's not like it's a weekend or anything.
Right.
Oh, wait. It's actually Sunday.
I think those tags that they're using are... well, I don't know about you guys, but to find a game, to find a public game on like monster powers to begin with, I usually find difficult. Do they? I hope they implement this, but like, let's say you want to find a game on MP4 or something like that, and if you can't, is it only searching MP4 games, or is it searching like a range of monster power games to put you in? Because it seems like if it's only searching MP4, then you have like 10 different levels to go through, and then you have the tags to filter through. It just seems like it's going to make everything like way, way, way more difficult to find people in a game. I don't know if that, I mean, it's not what they intended, and unless I'm reading into it wrong.
That was their whole complaint when they started the MP system. People were like, why are these not in public games? And they said, because it'll make so much of a fragmentation of the player base, it'll never work. And people said, we want it anyway, and now we've got it. And
I think if they...
Right.
I think it should automatically place you if you know, into something, I don't know, within a certain range of what you're looking for. Because I don't know, like leveling up a new character on monster power is kind of fun, but you can't ever find anyone who's doing it at a similar monster power or whatever. I don't know. I leveled up a wizard recently and like never found a public game on a monster power I was looking for. Like not once. I always tried, even though it wouldn't be faster or anything. And I think now that they have the tags, it's going to exacerbate this problem even more, like the matchmaking.
Well, there's good news all around.
Like I like what they're going for, but I just think there needs to be like some sort of, some sort of fail safe that says like, okay, we didn't find this, but here, we'll put you into this game so at least you're with some people.
Or I'm going to put this out there. Maybe there could be a system where the players, the people in the games could communicate to other players about what they were trying to do in that game. And then those players, I'm just speculating, could read it, and then maybe make a decision based on what they had seen to enter or not enter that game.
They could call it like game naming or something like that.
I don't know.
That would be cool.
I know it's a little out there. I just kind of was thinking about it. Maybe that's something.
Have either of you guys tried? I only played for a little bit. I did not like the game, but Path of Exile. Have either of you tried it?
Not since the alpha.
Yeah, way, way, way back in the day.
I just got it like recently, just to try it, and I really didn't get into it too much, but I thought that the way that they set up public games was interesting. Like it was really easy to find people. You could write your own title. I mean, you could, like we're used to, create your own game, say I'm doing this, join me, kind of thing.
Right.
It was really streamlined and really fast. Something. They don't need that.
But would that work on the PlayStation 3?
Yeah, right.
Well, there you go. You can't have it then.
Yeah,
because we know the console ruined everything.
But the PlayStation is also available offline.
Yeah. Did you guys think of wonder if that guy from Xbox who was making all those tweets like last week about what's wrong with you people? You're not online only. Deal with it. Anyone else was like, yeah, Bobby Kotick somewhere is like, okay, hire him right now.
He's the man. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that
new director of Battle.net Communications.
I guess like the online only thing has never bothered me. And maybe that sounds weird, but like I always, when it came to Diablo 2, I never played offline. I was always going on to Battle.net to play.
Yeah, I probably only played offline like one time out of like 10 years.
Yeah, I think
the illusion of choice.
Right, exactly.
Is the Merovingian said in the Matrix 2 that everyone hated. Choice is an illusion between those who have power and those who do not.
Wow, we're gonna.
So if you had the choice to play online, even though you were doing it 99% of the time, it seemed like, oh, I have this choice.
Right.
But in D3, you don't have the choice, and therefore there was rabble.
I never rabbled about it because I knew I was never going to play offline ever.
Yeah, I mean, but then you got to think about it. Ironically, with Diablo 3, one of the biggest things that drove me to Diablo was being able to play online and play with other people. And then, kind of the way Diablo 3 has been set up is I've spent far more time playing single player, basically, compared to
that's true, man.
Playing with other people, and that's the great irony, I guess, and not having a qualm with the way it was set up, and then playing predominantly single player.
Of course, you would never have done that if you didn't have a real money auction house. I mean, a non-real money auction house.
Well,
so that's really the reason you have to play online, even if you had the option not to, because you have to have secure items that you can sell in the auction house.
Right.
The entire hardcore economy is based on get to buy more, unlike softcore, which is all self-found. Oh wait. So speaking of, any other thoughts on that before we move on to something else?
No, good.
We'll send that horse to the glue factory and move right ahead.
Right. I feel like we'll stray back there at some point.
Yeah, we're very linear in these podcasts. Always right down the outline. So speaking of, something I was going to say right at the start is that what have you guys been playing lately? We did this podcast I think 3 weeks ago was our last one.
Right.
And we'd all been doing mostly hardcore, and I know you've continued that path, Xanth, as have I.
Right.
What have you been up to lately, Ynzerg?
Yeah, I have. Excuse me, I have two, and I think I mentioned on the last podcast that I was gonna do a wizard, and I did that, and I have a wizard now, and I like it. It's still
what level is it?
She is still alive, and she is like 58 or something, like right on the edge of
Paragon 58. That's good.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah, I've made it. I haven't done anything else since the last podcast. No, yeah, so it's pretty fun, man. It's kind of weird coming from Barbarian, though, because you actually, like, almost die sometimes.
Yeah, that's funny how that works.
Yeah, yeah. But I like it, man. Wizard's fun. I have a lot to say now, having played the two classes that have the permanent super buff skills that you can get, and
I don't imagine your level 58 wizard is exactly permabuffed
all
Archon
the
yet.
whole time, dude. Like I don't do anything else, and it's so easy and so boring. But there's not really a better option. Like I keep trying to do other stuff, but like if I guess if I'm like speed leveling the Archon, like you just can't touch it, and it's really easy to keep up. I don't know why they even I don't even know why did they buff it. Like they buffed it with like the assists. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you can
Yeah.
use it in multiplayer.
I know, but I mean, isn't that person's never ever? I guess once that the patch hits, it just seems like who's not going to use Archon? I guess I don't know.
Right. Well, I
So
think well there are a couple other well, like one other viable build, but it's really expensive. That's the critical mass and whirlwind build, where you're just freezing things nonstop and
yeah,
shooting
those are
off
crazy.
tornadoes. And
Yeah,
I think it's a really coul build, but I mean, like for hardcore, I've tried it a few times. I saw my health bar go down to nothing, and was just like, okay, that's enough for that.
yeah, and it
Yeah,
seems like
yeah. The whole
those.
strategy is teleporting into the mass of a huge mass of monsters and then casting skills frantically.
Right,
Yeah,
which is
And if one thing misses, you die.
yeah,
right.
it seems pretty like on a razor's edge kind of, and they usually have really low life and stuff. That's a
Right.
crazy. It seems fun, but like really kind of tense.
Yeah, I mean, it can definitely work with the right gear, but you have to be willing to sink a lot of gold into it.
It's not true of every class in the entire game.
I think there are some classes that you can just kind of steamroll with mediocre gear.
I guess it depends on what level of a MP or
Right,
gold find or whatever you want to have.
exactly.
Now that people are pissed that it costs billions to be able to play MP10 with a barbarian. I'm like, God, how can the absolute hardest possible thing in the game cost a lot of gold to do? That's just not fair. It should be affordable too. Okay, speaking of affordability, I have a crafting strategy question for you guys.
Mm,
My monk in hardcore is like Paragon 33-ish or so, and it's kind of gotten to the point where every piece of gear is like 50 to 100 million to upgrade, so I don't have that much. And I'm looking at amulets, and like a really good amulet, like my amulet is self-found, and it's probably 12, 15 million to buy, roughly would be the equivalent. And to get a really good upgrade that makes enough difference to kind of to bother with is like 50 to 100 or more. And I bid on a couple for like 35, and someone snaps it up for 70 the last minute, and I get nothing.
that was me.
Nothing. Yeah, it's probably Xanth actually. He's always spying on me.
Yep.
Anyway, the question is, so looking at the crafting option, what is your what amulets do you guys have on hardcore? Have you crafted your own, or are you self-found or something?
I've crafted, but I never. That's a pretty high resource cost.
Yeah, it's freaking expensive. That's the second part of my question.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and I did it a few times, and I just got like no. First of all, I don't have a crafted amulet, and I forget what mine is right now. I could check it out in a sec. But yeah, I rolled like 3 or 4 of them, and then I got like some really good stats, like 1 or 2, and then the other ones were total rubbish, and I couldn't use them, so I gave up on that actually.
What's on your monk, Xanth?
I do not have a crafted one. I've gambled with crafting a couple of times on amulets, especially when they were really cheap towards the beginning. And brimstones were not selling for as much, and it just was never able to equal out what I did have because I've got all res on it, and then it's my main source of life on hit, where it's like 920 or so, and then increases critical damage by like 95. So it's really tough to kind of replace. There are some things I can get a better damage boost, but then I'll lose life on hit, and I'll have to balance everything out. So that one's just kind of solid. I don't think really any of my characters have. Well, there's one. I think my witch doctor has the crafted amulet, just from various tries. I got one that could work.
And when did you last play your witch doctor?
Um,
Before or after Christmas?
oh, it's definitely after. I know that.
Okay.
I messed around with him a little bit, but mainly it's just been pushing the monk. But I don't know. I feel no inkling to go and craft an amulet right now because I'm really content with what I have. Obviously, if this character dies, I'll probably go back to crafting. But for now, I'm just content.
Yeah, you just sit on your gear and count your millions. You're what, you're halfway to a billion,
Yeah,
you
are you
said?
a billionaire yet?
550 million, and counting. I've made about 250 million in the past week. So,
Jeez.
And as I pointed out to you when you said that, you're only 200 million away from being able to afford a single good Mimpo.
yeah. Well, Yeah, I found
A year of steadily building your Scrooge McDuck reserves, and you can almost buy one really good item now.
right. Well, I found a mempo and sold it for it was 150. But I
Yeah, no CC obviously though.
no, but I didn't ID it. That was the trick.
Well,
Sold it
oh, you were bold.
yeah, and it turned out to be garbage. So it's kind of one of those gambles. What would have been a 30 million mempo ended up netting me 150.
Wait, did he show it to you afterward?
Yeah, it had like fire resist. It was not good. Some people,
Yeah, I found two rare unique helms just yesterday, and of course both were frickin' Andariel's helm, which is like the most common helm in the entire world as far as I can tell, next to Madstone's, of course.
well, yeah,
But the other
you
one.
have quite the knack for getting those.
Yeah, I found like my first 12, I don't know, like 10 of my first 12 unique headgear in Softcore were all the same Spirit Stone. And I've found 5 or 6 of those so far in Hardcore now too. It's like a curse.
I've
But anyway,
have you
going
found uh,
yeah, go ahead.
have you found that you I mean, and this is for you too, Ynzerg, have you found that it seems like legendaries come in droves. Like you don't just simply see one and then never see it again. Like I had a streak where for like 2 weeks I was finding a decent amount of vile wards. Just recently it was like a level 60 two-handed sword that just kept like 3 times in a row. It was that legendary. And it just seems very weird. Like I found 2 Mempos, I found multiple Andes. Like that's just, and yet there's a bunch of them I've never even seen.
I haven't had that. I mean, I've definitely found a few that are the same, but I guess I never saw it as like a recurring pattern. It's usually
Hmm.
pretty random, and then I usually get disappointed because I'll find the slot I want, and then it's like a shitty version of it, like But no, I haven't been finding multiple repeats. I guess too often.
I think that's just confirmation bias. Where it's like astrology. You notice the hits and you forget all the rest.
Yeah,
'Cause I can definitely remember. Like I was trying to find Lacunis forever in Softcore, and I found like 15 unique bracers, and every single one was strong arm. It
yeah.
was just unbelievable. And then I suddenly found like 7 Lacunis in a row. It seemed like over a month and a half or something
That's
like that.
crazy.
But then I'm sure there's 50 other items that I found equal distributions of crap and also crap. So, but the thing with the amulets is people who play Softcore don't realize the prices. You mentioned it's about 300K per fiery brimstone.
Yeah.
And the gem you need is the perfect square.
Yeah, it's
And those
expensive.
are like 80K a piece because you need 3 tomes of secret, and those are about 14K. And then it's 30K for the jeweler to make the upgrade. So you're looking at well over 400K, including the price to make the amulet itself per each.
Right.
So you can make. So I was looking at just looking up, working the math up. You can make about 45 of those for 20 million gold, and you can buy a pretty damn good amulet for 20 million gold, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
So
totally.
of course you might get one that's worth 1 billion gold, but of course then you can't sell it, but it's good for you.
Well,
But it's not like in softcore you can crank those things out for like 55K a piece. It's like not even money. So it's definitely a bigger choice in
is it really that
hardcore if you're
cheap
gonna go for that
in
route.
softcore?
Fiery brimstones are 10K and books of
Jeez,
tomes
dude.
of spirit are 400 gold.
If
I
only.
hadn't played my softcore in a few weeks, and I got on the PTR today, and just looked at my softcore monk, and he's got like 1,400 tomes of spirit and like 77 fiery brimstone just sitting in his stash, because there's no reason to sell them because they don't really have any value. It's like why bother?
Hmm.
Have
You don't even pick them up.
Have you
I mean,
made? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
I've routinely not picked up crappy unique items, legendary items in softcore. Two-handed staff or a Daibo, you just leave it on the ground. It's like who cares? That's 8K to sell. That's what you're going to clear selling it. I've got 482% gold find or something on this character. It's like your average stack is like 3,400. That's 3 stacks of gold over there, and I got to spend 5 seconds staring at Hadrick's nutsack to make it. No, don't care. Do not want.
Have you made the switch kind of to playing more hardcore now these days?
Well, that's all I've played for a while, so it's hard to think about. That's what I was noticing playing the PTR. Because I mean, my monk is just vastly more powerful. My softcore monk, he's running around with like 180K DPS with dual wielding, and I'm just playing MP3 and MP4 and just flying through stuff, killing everything as fast as I can move. He's much faster on MP4 than my hardcore monk is on MP0. And so but at the same time, it's like, what's the point? It kind of feels like you're on God mode, where there's no consequences if you die. It doesn't matter, and like
Right.
there's only like one item in 10,000 that's even worth picking up. It just seems like what's the point in playing this, which is how I was in D2 in the old days. So I guess I've been corrupted by the hardcore experience. I want my gameplay to actually mean something and have importance and consequences, and to actually have to try.
I felt bad, man. After our last podcast, when we were proselytizing for hardcore, there was like a guy who posted in the podcast forum chat, like like we inspired him to try again, and he died at like level 59 or something right before he got 60, and I was like, no, sorry, man. Oh man, it's fun though.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah,
Oh
Right.
wait, except that it kills you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, he did.
and Flux, you haven't lost anybody with a Paragon level yet either.
Well, I've only made one, so
Well, exactly.
yeah.
It's
My first Demon Hunter died at 56. I've got a replacement Demon Hunter at 52 that I've been ignoring,
right.
and I keep finding really good gear with intelligence on it. Like the game is taunting me. It's like, play a witch doctor, you bastard.
That's
Or
right.
a wizard.
Yeah, those don't exist.
Yeah.
What was your definition of the wizard? I feel like I'm constantly going to die because I'm helpless and have nothing in front of me.
Pretty much.
Dude, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's definitely harder than I thought it
Um,
would be.
Yeah, I mean, my wizard's not too bad. I think it's like Paragon 7 right now. Um, but yeah, you definitely have a little more uncertainty, and maybe it's also due to not playing the class too much that, I'm really comfortable with it, because anytime I was playing my wizard, it was more of a diversion from the monk, so that I would just not get bored with them. But I don't know. It definitely felt different to go from, being in the fray to trying to avoid it as best you can.
It's tough to play an alt. It's weird to even think of alts because I never thought that way in Diablo 2. I played
Right.
tons of different characters, but it's so long to get a high level character with really good gear in D3,
Right.
and the better you get, the more profit you make because you find more legendaries and you can kill faster.
Yeah.
And especially in hardcore where it's like, if you die, bad things happen. And you want profit. Every unique, every legendary you find is at least 300k, and you can routinely sell them for 8 and 10 and 20k.
Right.
I mean million, not k, as Xanth's proving with his fortunes. And you feel like there's profit, and it's like anytime you're playing somebody else's, you're not making the profits you could have with this character because you're not 14 years old with 12 hours a day to play video games.
Right. Oh, those
So-
were the days.
Well, do that, but everything you're saying is basically commentary on how the auction house has changed your perception of what the value of the game really. Like, I think I assume you guys would be the same way, but like when this game first came out, I was like, nope, no way, I'm never using the auction house. And then now the way we talk, it's like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to do this because I want gold and I want to sell stuff and buy stuff on the auction house. You know what I mean? I think that definitely colors the enjoyment experience, even just kind of by what you're saying there.
You have to be so specialized in your gear for your build that I routinely find, not routinely, but occasionally find items good enough to upgrade my stuff, but not for my class and not for my build. It's such a time sink. In Diablo 2, I had like one of every class, and the items weren't so specialized. Like, oh, this is a good Amazon item. Obviously there were Javazons and Boazons and stuff, but especially if you look at a monk with when you're doing your one with everything for your mandatory passive.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I just found a really awesome pair of boots the other day that had Rezal and fire, and I'm doing arcane, so that there's just no way I can switch over to fire. Although I actually did switch everything about 10 levels ago, but let's not go there. But if this item had, like, I found a really good shield that had cold on it, and it was useless to me because I don't have cold.
Right.
But if I had cold, it would have actually been an upgrade, and I sold it for like 8 million. So it's almost as good as finding it yourself. So I don't know if Diablo 3 has specialized us into that way, or if we just make excuses for it because we have the auction house, therefore we must use it.
Well, somehow you have to use it to some degree.
Okay, patch stuff. We've
Yeah.
rambling on. The biggest thing is monster density. I wrote an article about that a couple weeks ago from early testing and did some more today. And you've done some testing, Xanth,
Yeah.
and you have not done some, Ynzerg, so you can listen while we
I
talk.
have not.
You can speak aspirationally.
I've looked at pictures.
And if people it's a very brief summary. If people haven't tried it at all or read any of the articles, I'm not sure how you'd be listening to this if you haven't. But anyway, there's lots more monsters, especially in Act 1 and Act 2, and apparently in Act 4, although no one's actually been there since about June of last year, so
Ugh.
we can't say for sure.
Not in hardcore,
But-
no thanks.
That's crazy.
Well,
yeah.
I was there in Nightmare and Normal, but other than that, it's kind of it. But there's lots more. Not so much on the Act 2 is really huge now. In terms of farming potential and crafting. I guess you probably tried it as well, Xanth. But
Right.
I think it might actually be better than Act 3 overall. There's more areas that are super dense packed. You kind of feel like every dungeon tomb I'm sorry, every desert, tomb, and especially like Zoltan Kuhl's dungeons
Yeah,
are like the keep level 2.1, 2.2, and 2.7. You know,
yeah.
they're just skelly
I
galore.
saw videos of Zoltan Cools, like people running cool or like streams, and it looked, yeah, it was insane, man. Like the density was crazy, and then but this guy was playing, Whirlwind Barb, so it was also awesome for him too, because he could kill everything all the time and never get out. It looked really thick. Is that what it's like? Like, what about when you're in the open fields of like desert or like the desert maps and stuff? Is that pretty thick still?
Wasp-o-matic.
Oh God.
That's the thing you notice the most. There's tons and tons of fallen and lacunes and stuff too. I mean, it's not as crowded on the surface, but there's a group of like 6 to 8 wasps on every single screen.
Ugh.
And as soon as you get to them, there's like another group on the edge of the screen coming into view. And I'm sure it'll be awesome with like I haven't played with my Demon Hunter. I really want to go there and just nuke them with multi-shot. But with the monk, I'm kind of just like dashing through and killing all the fallen, and there's always like 7 or 8 wasps kind of circling me. Playing today, I had to repeatedly use Serenity to not die just from regular wasp BBs. Those are much more dangerous than the other monsters. Did you try Act 2 in Xanth?
A little bit here and there. I mainly spent my time in Act 1. And then, ironically, in Act 3, I don't know why I stayed there, but I just did. Um,
Force of habit.
yeah, I guess. A little bit in Act 2, but I think it's kind of one of those things I kind of like to see where other people are setting up their runs and what's most effective before I can really find it. Just kind of, I feel like I'm taking a shot in the dark when I'm jumping in different places and be like, is this better? Isn't it? I kind of leave that up to somebody else, but I don't know. I think the open areas in Act 1, they didn't feel too different to me. Um,
Did you try the Keymaster one, the Fields of whatever?
yeah,
Fields of
I was
Despair?
in the field. I don't
I thought
know.
that was awesome now. I actually thought I would say that Act 1 and Act 2 key runs are now better than Act 3 key runs.
See, like that's where I guess I don't know, maybe it was the game I had created or what it was. It just didn't feel that different in Act 1. Um, or maybe it's just been so long that I've been there that maybe I just had a different memory of it, but it didn't seem right. I guess maybe I was expecting just like Rackus crossing the entire time and just nothing but monsters on all sides when I was hearing improved density.
It's more. I mean, it's
Right,
not quite like the Fields of Slaughter or whatever the Act 3 one is.
right.
You know, the donut level, the frozen donut.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had no problem. Of course, I'm playing a really fast-moving softcore monk who's got Tempest Rush, so I can damn near cover the whole game in 6 seconds before my Sweeping
Right.
Wind runs out, you know?
Yeah.
But I never even had to think about recasting Sweeping Wind on the entire level,
Uh,
playing it just this
That's
afternoon.
kind of
So
fun
it
though.
was,
That would have been fun. Does a
there's just constant like there's like it's like the clusters of the scavengers. There's like 8 to 10, a little bunch like every screen, and there's tons and tons of those wasps. You don't get that many. There's a lot more goatmen too.
Yeah.
So it just basically anywhere in the game that has a lot of trash mobs, there's just infinite trash mobs now. It's like you're in a garbage disposal of trash mobs. You don't get that many more bosses, but the one that I mentioned in my article was Zoltan Kuhl's, the third level, the dark blurry
Yeah.
sandstorm looking level, the Realm of Shadow, was just insane like 2 weeks ago with the number of those little black scrappy things that just kind of crawl on the floor. I had multiple kill streaks of 100 to 250 just in that one level with making no effort to do it. Because you're just walking and these things are just like falling off in a conveyor belt, like mushrooms in a Mario Brothers game or something. And Sweeping Wind is just splatting them in 1 second. I wasn't even hitting them. It's like, oh, suddenly my kill streak's at 117 or something, and you're like, that was not really very difficult. And that's the one area they actually toned down a little bit in monster density because they just like, yeah, this is a little out of control.
Yeah, jeez.
But it was still ridiculous. I mean, I played it today and I had 2 kill streaks of like 150 just in one little corner of this level.
That's wild. It doesn't scale with monster power, right? It's just the same all the way up.
Yeah, it doesn't increase the density. It's just
Okay.
yeah, MP does not increase the density. But there's lots. And the other thing they've mentioned is clumpiness they've been trying to work on, which is it's funny because you mentioned PoE earlier. And when I was playing Path of Exile in the early days in the alpha test, one of the biggest problems that I kept talking to Chris about was that there was not enough clumpiness. Just anytime you moved like one step in a direction, you'd always get like one more monster. They were just sort of like the pattern of distribution was very uniform. And there was a little bit of that in the start of the PTR testing for 108 in Diablo 3, in that every single time you'd move like half a yard off the screen, you get 5 more monsters. and it was kind of annoying because you were never quite finished. You just sort of felt like this ongoing, all you can eat buffet of just little niblets of rice, where you wanted an actual meal. And it seems like it was much better now with the clumpiness. So you didn't constantly feel like you were just getting like two or three more. You'd get an empty screen and you'd get 50, which is awesome.
That's exciting, man. That's gonna really really bring a lot of replayability. Pretty excited they actually listened and took this on. So in your opinion, you think it's done well at this point? Are there any areas that in your guys' testing that you think it's too much, too little, or not like intelligently spaced, I guess?
Jump in there, Xanth.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wasn't noticing too much. I mean, the big thing that I really liked about Act 3 was, the clear cut run, just a whole bunch of monsters right in your face, jump to the next one, so on and so forth. So maybe, with further testing I could, start to discover that. But I think the biggest thing to me that still seems missing is it's great that density is improved in all these acts, but we're still stuck to one. We still have to, all right,
Oh, true.
it's Act
Yeah,
2
yeah, yeah.
runs, it's Act 3 runs, it's Act 1 runs. Why can't it just be everything? Why can't it just be completely open for us to run freely?
Yeah.
And that still feels like a missed opportunity.
I assume that had to do with how they programmed the game. Like it's, the acts are treated discreetly or something.
Right.
And they wanted us all to play in the same groups and the same screens and the same clusters because console.
Yeah.
They were just training us for the console. It was part of their evil plan all along. But it seems like, it was a big deal when they made it so you could carry over your Nephilim Valor stacks to the next act. But, that's just starting the next act. You don't ever want to do that anyway because it's slow and obnoxious.
Right.
Except for, of course, for Rakanov.
And then you have
Yeah.
to deal with bad quest dialogue and cutscenes.
They don't have those in Diablo 3. You're thinking of another game, probably.
I might be.
One thing, counterpoint to your last comment, Xanth, I have on my notes, and it's handy that you brought it up because we share a brain, apparently.
Yeah, we do.
There are some really bad areas in Act 3. I mean, everyone talks about how awesome they are, but no one ever does keep one. I mean, it's not horrible, but there's big empty spaces. It's much like Act 2 used to be.
Right.
And there's like that dungeon when you first go out to the outdoor surface. If you turn left, right at the very end of it, there's like a little underground dungeon that looks like the keep, and it's hella empty.
Yeah.
And there's underground dungeons on the first surface area that are like, there's like one boss pack in the whole huge level, and there's lots of empty hallways.
Right.
And a lot of the levels of the tower kind of suck. I mean, they're not terrible, but...
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's like half the levels in Act 3 are awesome, and half of them are, meh. And people just sort of remember the only really good ones.
Well, they've been
So I think-
they've been running them for the past year.
Yeah, that's all we've been doing for...
forever.
Thank you, Mr. Alcazir. So... Yeah, but I mean, it's not like Act 3 is this perfect, glorious, glistening nirvana like my ex-wife, and everything else is horrible and useless and awful like every other woman in the world. It's actually that there are varieties, and some of Act 3 is kind of crappy. And I don't know I don't think they made any changes in those. I haven't actually gone and looked in those, but they haven't mentioned it in the patch notes.
Yeah, it looks like so. There's no changes to Act 3 quite yet, and then Act 4, I guess they haven't put in yet. Is that true?
No, it's more. It's like 1.5 times the density, whereas Act 3 is like triple the density in Act 1.
I'm looking at the patch notes right now. I don't see anything saying about Act 3.
They haven't mentioned the specific areas in Act 4.
Okay.
But I mean, I played that in the first, right when the PTR went up a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned that in my article on that stuff, which I can see you've read closely, Ynzerg. Thanks for that.
Oh yeah.
And it's just the problem with Act 4 is there's not a lot of trash mobs, right? I mean, they're non-trash mobs.
Right.
And if you triple the number of whatever, corrupted angels or a mallet lords, or those little horseback righty dudes that stun you, those things are bad. Those things are very painful.
Yeah, dude, the Act 4 is dangerous to begin with, so I don't know how they'll get around that.
I mean, I don't know. I think maybe it was Xanth who mentioned this, but on a previous podcast, we were saying that we liked that the acts had kind of a different flavor, and like Act 4, the flavor could be they're bigger monsters, but they're much more dangerous and they're more rewarding.
Right.
So maybe I don't mean like 50 bosses on every level or something, but just that you can't zoom through it quite like the trash compactor or you don't have fallen, you don't have scorpions, you don't have sand wisps, you don't have all this little crap that you can just mow through very easily. I mean, you have a few of those little ankle biters in Act 4, but not very often.
Yeah, not very often.
So it just seems like maybe they should all the monsters in Act 4 could go up like 50% in hit points and like 100% in rewards. And so it's not denser, but it's more of a challenge, and what you get there is more rewarding.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would then be worth possibly risking death to go in there. Because right now I won't touch it. I mean, I've lost. I think both my previous monks had died in Act 4. Um, One was just trying to get through Inferno, and then the other one I think it was farming the plans to make the Hellfire Ring, and just got overwhelmed.
You
Yeah.
know what? The one I never go there either. But I think the one time I went there that really kind of scared me away. I had a Mallet Lord boss, but it was a illusionist. So there were like
There were a
15
lot.
Mallet Lords like surrounding me. It was the scariest thing ever. And those things
High five.
they hit really hard. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I never went back after that. I survived, but I still never went back. It's too risky.
The other thing I suggested in that article for Act 4 is that if they don't want to, the thing I was saying all along is that they should, instead of increasing the density in Act 1 and Act 2, they should just make like endless dungeons. And instead of trying to cram more monsters into the current areas, make bigger areas, make new tile sets, make, champion packs of like 8 champions at once, 2 bosses at once, all this kind of stuff. You could kind of break all the normal rules of the game. And obviously they didn't listen and didn't do it, so they're wrong, and I'm right. But I think Act 4 is another candidate for that because they have those just like completely useless, crappy, annoying dungeons in Act 4 where there's like 5 monsters in them.
Yeah, and some that don't even have champion packs.
Yeah, and they could just like just delete those and like the dungeons become like triple level, huge open areas like the later areas of Act 4. And those are where you go to farm in Act 4. But of course that'll never ever happen.
No.
But I think Act 4 has a nice rhythm and a flow, and it's obviously meant to be a shorter act. And hell, heaven is only so large. You don't need 5,000 rooms of the same hallway. It's not Versailles, but
Right.
I don't
I
know.
would
Or
have
the
thought
Vatican.
heaven would, yeah, I would have thought heaven would be a little bigger. I'm just gonna say,
Yeah.
it's not a lot of
Well,
room there.
only Mormons go there, so it's okay. Hell's plenty large, as we noticed.
It's
Everyone's
true.
Lots of
they're
room
all on
there.
their own planets, man. So they
Yeah.
visit there on weekends.
This isn't our world. It's a very different mythology, as Chris Metzen explained. Okay, any other thoughts on monster density? Are you eager? I'm eager for it to be real. I mean, I played a little today, and I'm like, I can't wait for Act 2 when these items are actually going to stay with
Yeah,
me.
I'm actually
Right.
very excited. Yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, as you guys can attest, I mean, running Act 3 over and over again ad nauseum is it's it borders on work. You're like, why am I doing
Right.
this? So
Yeah.
to have a little bit of variety and just kind of jump around, I think it will really freshen the game experience.
Right. I think, it'll be a nice change of pace, and then we just kind of wait a week or two until somebody tells us what's most effective again and kind of go back to that.
Yeah, I am curious to see what the runs will be. Like you were mentioning earlier, Xanth. People are going to find the best places to go in Act 2.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to time out the most effective Alkaiser run, and then they're going to compare it against whatever else that they create. And I'm really hoping that it isn't Act 3 that still wins out, but who knows?
You don't do all Kaiser runs anyway.
Right.
You do Rackus Bridge and you do
Right.
other
I do a
things
modified version.
and Keep 3 and other things. Yeah,
Uh,
I don't do it either. I do other levels,
right. I mean, I think you can
Sky
only
Crown, etc.
right, yeah, you can only stick to it for so long before
And
you're
that's me
like,
for barbarians, so it's evil anyway.
right.
So, yeah, I mean, you just want to avoid dead spots or having to run through an area you've already done.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway, speaking of barbarians, one of the things in the news was talking about potential future nerfs to at least to the duration of Archon for the wizard and Wrath of the Berserker for the barbarian. And both those skills now allow you to transform into a super powerful version of yourself,
Right.
much like vodka. And you can kill things really, really fast. And in the barbarian's case, you're damn near invulnerable while you're in it.
Right.
And it seemed like from what Blizzard said and from how the game is designed, they thought, they both have a 15-second duration, both skills, that you can increase with various things. And it seemed like Blizzard was thinking, okay, they might get to like 30 seconds, but then you've got a 2-minute cooldown, so it's balanced. And of course, fans have found ways to keep them up forever. And if you don't have it up forever, you feel like your character's underpowered and you're not doing it right, which in fact is true.
Right.
But it's just they're super, super powerful, and that's one of the reasons barbarians are like the most popular, most powerful killing class. And Ynzerg, as a evil barbarian user, how would you feel about Wrath of the Berserker being? Do you feel it's OP, or is it just want more?
I mean, Thrive on Chaos might be in itself.
Well, that's what enables it to last forever.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So I think the skill in itself is actually a cool skill. I always liked it. But Thrive on Chaos, I don't know how they'd change it, but I, I wouldn't be upset at all if they kind of took that away because it's like it works on your subconscious, man. It almost like eats at your like, well, if you change your build, you're like, well, I should be using this. Like, there's no other farming alternative that's going to be good. So then it almost forces your hand to like go against their whole build diversity, mantra or whatever. But
So any other build is the Act 2 and Act 1 of Barbarians.
yes, right, sure.
You've ruined your farming output by changing this.
Right. I mean, it's. I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever played a high level
Yeah,
barb.
I have a 20 in Softcore, Paragon 20.
Yeah,
I haven't played him in a long time.
It's so hard to match it. So no, and having played Archon now too, I really can see how if they just took away the infinite duration, it would force people to kind of look into other things, which people do anyway, but. Overpowered, maybe, yeah. The duration, sure. I think it could be looked at.
And now you're officially disbarred from the Barbarian Union, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I sent away for a cancellation of my membership before I got on the podcast, so we're good.
You'll be sent to the re-education class. And you have not played much Barbarian, Xanth. Why are you wasting your playtime not playing sub-characters?
I don't know. I mean, I like the Barbarian, but it didn't really grab my attention as much as the Monk and the Witch Doctor. So I just kind of I have one at 60. He's just kind of sitting there, and I don't really, I don't know. If a couple other characters die and he's still alive, maybe I'll jump in with him.
No, you won't. You'll play another Monk.
But right, exactly. I know I will. I've already got a backup. I haven't started leveling him, but he exists. But I do have a wizard. And
Pessimist. What are you, level 65 now or something? Paragon 67?
68 actually.
Well, there you go.
But
So when you get to 100, you'll start a new one, just for variety.
I saw somebody doing that the other day. They're on my friends list, and I don't even remember how. So if you're out there and you're listening, sorry. But they had 100 Paragon Monk, and then they were leveling up another one in hardcore, and I'm like, I don't think I'd have the patience. I feel the drive after our character's died, and I want to replace it and go farther. But like, if my perfectly good Paragon 100 Monk is sitting there, I'm not going to go level another one.
Maybe they've been saving up gear for a different OWE, and they just wanted to try it out.
Well, dude, he might have wasted all his skill points. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't respect.
Yeah,
And that's not for which monk the bell tolls, so he's trying a different build.
yeah, maybe. But anyways, I do have a wizard with an Archon build, and I don't know. I do think there is a big difference between Wrath and Archon, though. Like, I still feel pretty vulnerable even in
Yeah,
Archon. Like
sure.
a pack that can come around and they can wipe me out. I might be able to clear trash real quick, but when it comes up to a pack, I can get taken down a peg, and I lose most of my skills at the same time. I have like a teleport, yippee, but I can easily get locked up real quick, and I think that's the biggest difference between the two skills. I definitely agree with Ynzerg that if they were gone or not allowed to be infinite, then maybe build diversity would exist, but I don't know. I definitely don't like that those two are kind of in the same boat in some respects, because I do feel like Wrath is much more powerful.
It is, dude. Yeah, with the CC immunity, you can't really put a price on that.
Right.
And movement speed and attack speed and bonus.
Yeah, I guess
other than
everything. Everything.
And you look giant and you have white hair. It's very scary.
Right. Whereas
The thing that I found scary about Archon is you can't see what the hell's coming at you because the laser beam is so big.
right.
I mean, like if you get projectiles, you literally can't see the projectiles hitting you, and you're losing health. You don't know what's shooting you.
Right. Yeah. And going back to the whole no CC or anything like that, I've been really close to dying in full Archon. Like, just all of a sudden, oh, I'm almost dead. What the hell just happened? And I don't think barbs are complaining about that kind of thing.
About almost dying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Why would you? You're a barbarian.
Right.
Okay, speaking of, one of the other changes they mentioned is just other general skill changes. Anything you guys are excited about on those? Ray of Fail. I mean, Ray of Frost is getting.
I was bummed
better.
about that actually, because they made Disintegrate even better, and then Ray of Frost, they without it having any piercing, it's never going to compete.
Right.
And that's kind of the same thing with rapid fire. I was the Demon Hunter skill, which is like my favorite Demon Hunter skill early in the game, and you just can't really keep using it later on.
Right.
Mainly because it only hits a single target, more or less, and you have to hold still to use it. Whereas everything else, you just dump and dodge with a Demon Hunter. So, or chuck and duck, as you prefer.
I think it's cool though how they're
Actually, no one does that anymore. Now you just sit there with gloom and other stuff. But in the old days, my God,
Back in my day.
back before Bolo Shot did 47,000% damage to the AOE. Anyway, you were saying something, Ynzerg?
Yeah, I was just gonna. I think it's cool how they buffed all the party healing skills. I thought that was like a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, they all do the exact same thing. Like that's, for amongst like many of the classes, they buff that passive healing regeneration, which I think, like in a part.
Console.
Yeah, but even in a party now.
There are no parties now.
I know, but there will be. There will with the experience buff. Like you're gonna see public games for sure. It's gonna happen. And then if they go along this kind of line of thinking where they make skills that are. I mean, this is a little uncreative compared to what they could maybe come up with. But like if they create some other passives that are really good for the group that are enticing, and then someone else is using a heal, it might create some interesting dynamics, and I think they're going in the right direction with that. But I don't know. I don't know how much it'll be used, but it looks cool.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, a lot of the passive healing bonuses, especially the regen bonuses, basically all got doubled.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mainly because no one uses regen now because it's much more effective to have life on hit or life steal for most classes. But the one I thought was funny is the Barb's Inspiring Presence is going from 2% of life per second to 4%, and now it's for the entire
Yeah,
party.
that's pretty cool.
So now the Barb has the best aura in the game too.
Right.
Thanks, monks. You're welcome. As we've joked in the past, the Barb has like 7 passives better than any single monk passive.
Yeah.
Like the monk would trade all 3 of his passives for like Ruthless just immediately. Like, okay, look at this, or 5%. Which one is what is it? Merciless weapons, whatever. The 5%.
Oh, blood
CC and 50% CD.
Yeah, blood something.
Weapons Master, I think it is.
Ruthless. Yeah, Weapons Master.
But that's like way better than any monk passive, and we've joked on this in the past. And so now the monk has a skill that's also getting buffed that provides regen, and it's Mantra of Healing doubled to 612 life, and the rune effect Sustenance goes up to 1240 life per second. So for a 50,000 hit points character, which is a little low for hell for most people, but anyway, just using it for example, the Barb's Inspiring Presence grants 2k per second, and on a passive. And the monk's best option is 1240 per second on an active skill. By using that, you're giving up your biggest bonus skill, basically your only bonus damage monk skill, long-lasting one, is your Mantra of Conviction.
Right.
So you're trading off your best damage skill for a healing skill with the monk, and that's at best it's half as good as the Barb's passive healing skill. And I thought Jay Wilson quit working.
You
on
really
this.
shot this down, huh? You shot this out of the sky and it just crashed. I was real excited.
Jay Wilson was moved on to something else, right? He's making Warcraft 4 or something now. And he was the big Barb booster. So how does this happen? Defend barbarians, Ynzerg.
They're pretty good. Yep.
On the other hand, the Barb has, as we've mentioned, like the 12 best passive skills in the game. Okay, not really 12, but he's got a lot of really good passives. In fact, giving up one of his passives for a healing bonus might actually be a bigger damage loss than the monk giving up Mantra of Retribution for Mantra of Healing. So in one way of looking at it, perhaps this actually is a bigger sacrifice for the barbarian.
Yeah,
but only because he's got the 57 best passive skills in the
kind of, man. But I think I think this is obvious. This is not. I think. I mean, it's obviously geared toward like groups. You know what I mean? So I think you would do that intelligently. Knowing that you're playing a certain role or something. You know what I mean?
No, there are no groups and there's no intelligence.
There will be.
So, are you guys looking for? I'm looking forward to leeching off Xanth and MP2 games once the patch comes out, and I can run behind you with a Sunkeeper equipped and say, "Oh, I'm doing Inspiring Presence or whatever the other thing is.
Right.
I'm doing Sustenance. I'll heal you." You're like, "I don't need healing. I have 9,000 life on hit." Yes, but I'm helping you heal. I'm healing your follower.
Yeah.
I don't have followers in multiplayer games. I'm healing them anyway.
Well, you can take the place of my follower.
I could boost your attack rate by 3%.
Yeah, that That'd be awesome. I mean, also,
The Barbarian will have that in the next patch, by the way.
the other
12% IS bonus to the entire
Yeah.
party. He's fourth passive because he's a little underpowered now.
Uh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I think one of the other bigger things to multiplayer, and I actually don't really get it, is the monster hit point reduction. Instead of going up 100%, it's going up 50% for each additional person that comes in.
Yeah.
That feels wrong. Am I the only one that thinks that's wrong? Because I've
Given your experience searching for party games today, I think you would understand.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, I've been in some multiplayer games on the regular realms, and with other characters just blowing through things. Like we were on like MP3, I think, and there were these two witch doctors that were just blowing through everything I was near that. Like I was barely generating spirit. And I'm thinking, if that group was, with monsters that had even less health, I wouldn't even need to be there. I could just be running around with the Sunkeeper, picking up.
Yeah, that's my plan.
I guess I don't know. That felt like uh, it feels like we want people to play in multiplayer games, and I 100% agree. But does it need to be that easy?
yeah, I felt the same way as soon as I read that. I don't know how that's going to turn out.
Because
Well, I do not. I knew how it's going to turn out.
Well, was anybody complaining though about monster health in multiplayer games prior to this? I mean, they had already kind of dropped it down like 3 or 4 times now that it felt all right.
Well, the problem also is that once they take it away, they can't really give it
Right.
back. I mean, they're not going to be like next patch, hey, we're adding 50% hit points to monsters. People will just QQ.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. I mean, obviously they want to boost multiplayer gaming, and they don't get a whole lot of that, and they think that we're complaining about it because we are,
Yeah.
but maybe they're going too far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
I think with this particular thing, like Xanth is saying, I think it's going to be too far.
like I'm, obviously I'm not certain because I couldn't find a multiplayer game. But it does feel like it's gonna be a little too easy in some respects because you throw in three or four people who are all doing over 100,000 damage, and you're just gonna breeze through things.
Maybe the point is that since most multiplayer games have two leeches with Sunkeepers equipped, by the way, we should mention Sunkeeper is a legendary mace that has a big bulk boost to magic find. I believe it's 40 to
Yeah,
45%,
somewhere in there.
or is it 40 to 50, something like that. Anyway, if someone doesn't know, and you can get them with really good damage, but generally they're what you put on your paladin,
Yeah.
or what is he a paladin? Or is it Templar?
Templar.
What are that
Templar.
guy's called? Glorious. You put it on him, and then he boosts your MF. But yeah, it doesn't tend to be a great offensive weapon, but it's a great weapon to offend people in your party if you're not going to contribute and just leech off their drops, like me and Xanth in 108 when that comes up.
Yeah, how many
Foreshadowing.
conversations have we had where I've invited you to play and you're like, is it 1.08 yet? Yeah,
All of them.
pretty much.
You were like, let's play together. I'm like, it's not 108 yet. Why would we do that? It's not- it's too hard now. The monsters have only a quarter of their hit points. I want them to have none of their hit points.
So
Yeah, we play together sometimes.
they haven't released all the skills yet, though, right? The things they're buffing.
Who knows, dude? They keep tacking on a few more.
I'm
every
holding
now
out
and then.
hope for Call of the Agents one day to be useful.
Well, I mean, they maybe in with some items,
They suggested it might last forever,
right?
right? They wouldn't die
Yeah,
until they
with some
died.
items though, like if you got like a barb helm or something like that.
Yeah,
That would
that's
be
right.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
I think that's 1.1, 1.09. I don't know, like what patch it would be.
Yes, because if there's anything a barbarian needs, it's additional helpers to add more
Right.
damage. You're so underpowered now. Finally, another way to get
Yeah,
some
but
explosions. What if you could blow them up like
that
minion
would be
dogs?
cool. But that's always been like the biggest disappointing skill to me.
That you
I've
can't blow up Call of the Ancients.
no.
That's your
But that-
biggest disappointment in the game.
Yeah, I
Mine
want
too.
corpse explosion on Call of the Agent. No, I've always wanted to use it. It's just not. It pales in comparison to the other options you can take. So I don't know. I hope they keep releasing these skills because I like that they're changing stuff still. I just some of the skills are so underused. And they must have. I mean, they do have the statistics on skill usage, and there's so many obvious ones that they could bump up a little bit to make more useful.
Well, you can look on any of these sites that, like we have our Diablo3ladders.com site. You can sort, most and least used skills by every class, etc. And there's always tons that are like, 0.001%. It's usually funny. You'll see there's skills that are used less than unruned skills, which I assume means that someone uses this without a rune for like the first 4 levels, from like level 8
Yeah,
to
I guess
12 or
so, huh?
something, which is enough to be more than they would ever use this other rune effect ever
Right.
from level 60 to infinity. So it
Ugh,
just shows you the wonderness of
sad.
something. Okay, 2 other quick points on 108. Craft-o-matic. I just posted a thing on the site right before this podcast. I went on some. Did you do any testing of the crafting now, Xanth?
No, I did not.
Now that you can have it do infinite
Yeah, I
numbers?
mean, it's one of those things that has been around in other games, so I just kind of figured I knew what it was. I'm doing very little crafting anyway, but I mean,
Just those amulets you're trying to
yeah,
make.
yeah. But I mean,
500K a
I've
pop, rolling off.
it's like pennies at this point. But I've sat there and I've crafted a whole bunch of stuff, just trying to get better bracers or whatever. And it gets tedious to sit there and click craft, and then like you don't want to wait, to craft another one till you check the stats and rinse and repeat. So the concept of just being able to put in 20 and then let them all shoot out is pretty nice.
The fun thing I tested today is I was looking at, you can do as many as you want. Like you say, there's a little selector at the bottom. This works for gems as well with the jeweler, or the amulets with the jeweler if you prefer. And it'll make as many as you tell it to make, assuming you have the ingredients to pay for that. And it also pulls materials from your stash now, so
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
have to put the crap in your actual inventory. It's much more convenient. And I made 117 chest armors just to see what it would do. And the ones that are, what are the, the Archon ones that are 50K or something, and there's very minimal requirements to make them for
Right.
materials. And I could make 117 or 114 or whatever it was. And I said, sure, why not? And just sat there and watched it go for a while, and it fills up your inventory, and they keep going, and he just throws them on the ground. And it was a little bit of a Sorcerer's Apprentice sort of effect, where you're just like sort of watching it, and oh look, there's more brooms, and they're all carrying water. So I went downstairs and got a snack, and I'm hearing in the background, grr chinga, grr chinga, grr chinga. The whole time I'm in the other room, like, popping popcorn or whatever. And I come back up, and the entire center of town in Act 2 is covered in glowing golden breastplates. I just spent 16 million gold making
It's pretty cool.
breastplates, something
Pretty
like
cool.
that. And of course, it's PTR and softcore, so they were essentially tissue paper. I didn't even look at them, but it is funny you can make as many as you want. The problem with it, which needs to be fixed, and I'm pointing my finger at the screen so you know I'm serious, you have to leave that stupid window open. What they need to do is make it so you can have that open while you're in the salvage window. And as soon as the crap rolls off, you can just click it away. Especially now that there's no notification on salvaging rares, you can select a
No.
checkbox,
Oh, they
and you
did
get
that, huh?
no longer get a
Oh,
pop-up.
thank God.
You get a pop-up still on legendaries, but not on
Okay,
rares.
cool.
And if you had that, you could just sit there and just, crap, 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 crap. In theory, it would go forever. I'm not sure you can get a perpetual motion machine, because you're getting reagents, you're getting materials back when you salvage
Right.
them, but they take more than that. But, you can extend the life of your endeavor by, 10 or 20% perhaps. But you have to sit there and watch them all, and then once they're all done, then you've got to go and sort them all and craft them all, salvage them all back to garbage and make more.
Hmm.
But that needs to be fixed, so I'm sure they'll get right on that.
To bring back the what was it? The salvaging cube that they used to have? That
Yeah.
thing was nice.
I'm
I
sure
like that.
That was kind
I'm
of
sure
cool.
that'll happen as soon as we get an ability to mark an item in the auction house to track it instead of having, to bid or not bid, so you can actually go back and find the same item again without doing the exact same search, which you'll never
Right.
remember. I'm sure they'll get that feature added any minute now. The one that eBay's had since 1983.
Yeah, but
That
do you
feature
want that? Do you really want that? I
Yeah.
don't
Yes,
want that.
repeatedly.
I
I've
guess
I've
so.
tossed in bids just to do that, just to be able to track it at the bottom.
And sometimes you can't bid. Sometimes it's 50 million
Right.
buyout, and I'm not sure if I can find
Yeah.
better. I'll do a bunch of searches, and okay, I'm looking at attack speed and CC, but not CD, and I don't care about Dex on this one. Then I'm going to try if there's LOH, and you forget, you had many permutations of searches,
Yeah.
and I'll forget which one found just this one item, especially in hardcore where there's not as many options, not as many items in the
Right.
market.
I think one.
And I just want to be able to put a check on it and go back and find the
Yeah,
damn thing.
that would be nice. I mean, I do have to say though, it was cool to be able to see whether or not an item was going to be an upgrade instead of having to link it in chat and then go into a game. Just being able to roll over with the mouse and see that
Yeah.
on the auction house. That was nice.
Yeah, that's on the PTR now. If
Yeah,
people
that's
don't
a
Yeah.
nice
know.
addition.
So it's like looking at any item in inventory or whatever. You just get, you get the normal comparison of the red green, which is nice, as opposed to, as you say, the workaround now is you shift click on the items in the auction house into the conversation box, and then you join a game, and then you can look at them.
Yeah.
And if you're doing with rings, you've got to switch your rings between each time you look because you can't use the alt thing to make it show the different one. It's amazing. It's almost like this feature wasn't the backbone of the entire game from the time the development began.
Yeah, when I say stuff like do you really want that? My whole hope still is falsely colored with the idea that I eventually won't need the auction house to play, and I can still like kind of play it how I used to want to play it, and drops will still be really fun. Like when you're, I don't know. I always like that idea, like the Ironborn option. I always thought that would be fun if you could do that. Or
do you want to do the console cost stance, or should I?
Console.
Hey, good news, Ynzerg. Guess what? You can now, and it's called.
So I'm going to get it again. All right, guys. Well, come back when we're doing the PlayStation cast.
PlayStation 4.
When you buy your second copy of Diablo 3. Okay, one last thing on a new feature on the patch test realm for v1.08. Patch test realm, public test realm. I always want to say patch test realm because it's about patches. Is the boss battle notification, and when you engage a boss, it pops up a little text in the little dialog box on the bottom left where you get your trade. When it tells you when you get a trade. In theory, that box would be filled with like typing from other people, but as we know, there is no typing from other people in Diablo 3. So in the box where your trade notifications appear, you now get a little pop-up that says, your character, your account name has engaged monster X. And it'll say Treasure Goblin, or the name of the boss, or the name of the super unique, or the blue name of the monster type if it's a champion. And everyone in the game sees this, and if you're in town, on your banner, it shows a little battle thing above your banner. So other people will know right where to jump to leech off your kills when the drops appear. Cool feature, right?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I heard it was too small. I heard people weren't seeing it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what my last girlfriend said.
Oh.
But about her ex, I mean.
Yeah, sure.
Something about the Hubble Space Telescope. I don't recall exactly. It was something about that. But one of the funny things I noticed with the champions is it shows you the type of monster name. And I was in Act 2 getting like monster names I'd never noticed in my entire life. I'm like, what the hell is that? It was like the fascinating quiz we had last time that neither of you guys passed. And in Act 2, in one of those dungeons, I got a brood spawn and a brood mother. And I'm like, what is this? Zerg Wars? StarCraft? What? Were you aware there was a monster called a brood spawn? And what do you think it is?
Is this the quiz game again?
Yes.
Quiz show number 2.
Aren't those like the Lacunis? Oh.
No. You want to hazard a guess there, Ynzerg?
You've
killed several million
sort of
of them
spider.
Yeah, it's the little spider.
Oh, that's right. This is just like the last quiz, Xanth.
Yeah, I'm thinking
bite.
too hard. Yeah.
And what do you suppose a brood mother is?
It's a big spider.
Big
yeah.
It's a big spider,
axe.
exactly. Yeah, it's an axe. Okay, while we're on that topic, what's a Hanfu, level 49 item?
Monk weapon. Done.
No, you're wrong. It's a bow.
Yeah.
Okay, one other. What's a Librum Spiritus?
Oh, that's a wizard offhand.
You could not be more wrong.
It really? It even says Librum in it. It's not a book? Yeah. I don't know.
It's one of the Templar weapons. 51. Those special Templar.
Oh, that's
book
not
things.
even fair. Who picks those up?
I did. Okay, my favorite one. What's a diamond razor? I always assume it's a new phone from Motorola when I
Totally
hear
sounds
when I see
like
one
Like it. Yeah.
It's the 54 Scoundrel specialty
Really?
item.
Dude, you're getting way too deep now. You're going follower items now? I'm lost. I'm going to lose.
All part of the same list. Okay, last one. What's a Fauchard? Fauchard.
Shard.
Oh, sure.
Sounds like a sword of some sort.
I'm going to go hat. Is it a hat?
No. We're going to wait until you get it right.
Two-handed axe.
The longest podcast ever. No.
A snake offhand for the wizard. I mean,
So it's a weapon.
Sorry.
And it's not a
I
wizard
didn't say
weapon.
wizard.
It's the worst podcast feature ever. I can just see the canceled subscriptions left and right.
One-handed axe.
Okay, a Fauchard is it's a 54 pole arm.
Okay.
Given that no one has ever actually picked up a pole arm, I'm not surprised you don't know it. Okay, any last topics, guys? Any last thoughts? What are you most excited about for 108?
I guess I'm excited. I mean, for all the stuff we talked about before, but I am anticipating because they said they're going to release more skill changes, so I'm actually eagerly anticipating some more skill changes to come out too. I hope some more interesting ones come out. But the density and everything seems really great. And the bonus experience that's a no-brainer. That should have been in place. Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. Hopefully, groups start arising on the servers.
Your last thoughts, Sam?
Kind of along the same lines. I think multiplayer is
You're just hoping to die so you can start that new monk finally?
finally. It's thing won't die. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to multiplayer more than anything. I mean, that's why I bought this game, and
My Suncatcher is ready. My Sunkeeper is polished and ready in my offhand.
there's no way I can't take that in some sort of.
If only I could dual wield a Gidbin too.
I'm just thinking innuendo the whole time there at that point. Um, but yeah, multiplayer. I think it'll be nice, and then I think I'm what I'm really looking forward to is what happens after this patch. Where do they go? You know, they've kind of addressed a lot of these issues and some of the systems. Are they going back to itemization, or is it something else that we don't know of? I kind of want to see what's on the horizon with the game.
Do you think we'll get another Infernal Machine type thing before we get itemization? Because they haven't really added any content. I mean, I guess Monster Density is sort of a new
Right.
content thing, but
I
the Infernal Machine was what? That was like last year. That was like October, November
Yeah,
or something. So it's been a
it's
while.
been a while. I don't know. I mean, do you want to toss? I mean,
Yes.
well, okay, well, thank you. But I mean,
Yes, I want. Whatever it is, I
I
want
don't
more of
know.
it.
The thing about the Infernal Machine though is it's just one item too. You know, they already did all the crafting and stuff like that. And do you want to implement another item like that before you do itemization, which might override it?
Well, all the item changes at this point are just deck chairs on the
Right.
Titanic, right? So and they can't really do a clean sweep and a revert until they get like an expansion because it has to be kind of optional because people have spent millions of dollars on actual gear.
Yeah, and I'm really curious about the expansion too. I mean, what do you do with? I mean, I'm not worried about the items because obviously people can buy into that fact because it's a new expansion. We're going to need new items. We're going to get new levels. But what do they do with Paragon levels? I don't know where they go. I don't know how they make that jump and what happens. I feel like no matter what they do, some pocket is going to end up being a little upset. You know,
Yeah, boy, no evidence
So
of that
you're
thus far.
worried about them not overcoming the various insurmountable challenges they've put against themselves?
but yeah, possibly. Um, I don't know. And since I'm on a tangent and I'm just clearly on a roll tonight, I think one of the other things that I've noticed recently that has been bothering me is I don't think people die enough. Like,
Well, apparently you don't.
no, and that's the thing. I
How many monks have you been through?
this is only the third, actually.
I've never died in Paragon levels because I'm just that good.
Right,
So
clearly, but
obviously the game's getting easier and
yeah, I
easier
think
though.
there's that. But like with the monster power system, it's kind of set up that you just play in your safe zone and you don't venture out of it. The only thing that kills people in hardcore is playing drunk and server disconnects, it seems like.
I think the total player population in hardcore is like, a rounding error. So compared to, I think people in softcore die like dogs in the
Yeah,
proverbial
Right.
street. And you're constantly pushing to a higher multiplayer monster power level because you want more loot and better magic
Right.
find and faster gaining of levels. I think this is a problem only the three of us are aware of.
Well, I think
And I'm not even sure all three of us are
right.
aware of it,
Well,
frankly.
I think the big thing with, original Diablo or Diablo 2 rather is in hardcore you couldn't change the difficulty of the game. It was what it was. And it was kind of harder to find a sweet spot and just kind of go with it. Whereas now you can be pretty safe and still get the rewards that you want on running regular Inferno if you really wanted and don't have as much risk. I mean, I don't feel the need to go into Monster Power 10 anymore.
Because you die in two
Well, yeah,
seconds, probably.
exactly.
Other than that, it would be a great idea. I would like to be I'm working to get my monk more powerful so I can farm MP1 handily once 108 comes out, because of course you'll need to do an Act 2 if you want to get the top quality
Right.
items, because otherwise you're only getting monster level 62
Right.
stuff, which is of course all
Yeah.
crap. Mostly mad stones. He's trying to know what you get. And that's
Not that you have any
just one
experience.
after the other.
Just
And one long
And some
hymn.
stones.
Get about 45 of those
actually,
a game.
those can turn out all right.
Yeah, the keyword there being
Yeah,
can.
that's true. But rarely do they.
I found the ideal, whatever the 62 monk hat is that's got IAS on it. I got that with a perfect roll of Vit and Dex and a socket, and it's worth 2 million gold. So
Yeah.
there's your level 62 perfect roll.
Yeah, it's no Innas or Mempo.
Okay, last point. Can you say where you're going on Wednesday, Xanth, or is
I
that a secret?
cannot. I don't believe
You
so.
cannot. Well, you might have exciting news on the next podcast. And, I mean, no one's listening at this point after the quiz. I'm sure they
Yeah,
already turned it
they
off. So
stopped at that point.
we're at an hour and 10 minutes. This is long since
Yeah,
ended.
this
Okay.
probably got cut.
Yeah. Any last thoughts, guys?
No.
I think I said that 20 minutes ago. And we're
Yeah, let
still
me
going.
just go
But
again. I'm going to go again. No, I'm happy, man.
yeah,
1.8 looks good.
what are you doing on Wednesday, Ynzerg?
I will working.
Exciting. Well, tell us about that next time. Okay, what's your final point?
That's it. I like 1.08. Let's play.
Okay, will we see this before the end of the month? It is currently the 21st.
I always feel like the patches surprise us. Like that, we kind of get in that habit. We're like, it's not going to happen, and then boom, all right, it's happening this week. So I'm not even going to guess.
Yes.
You will note I did not say the 21st of which month. That way we can just rerun this forever, and it'll always be 9 days away.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
Genius.
Okay, you've been listening to the Diablo podcast. We are online at diabloinkgamers.com. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Moo.
Moo. Moo.
Moo, 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 moo.
Moo, parachute, level 47, two-handed weapon.
Oh my God.